Welcome to Heart Home Community's most recent Baldwinsville Community Update. I'm your host, Shelley Hoffman. Hey everybody, it's Shelley Hoffman, and I am here with our weekly update that I always look forward to with our mayor, Dick Clarke. How are you today?
I'm fine. I was kind of hoping it would be a little warmer than it is, but I'm reminded of the time as a youngster when I would say to my mother, because you'd get a couple nice days and that would rain for a week in April, and I'd say, we're getting cheated. And she said, you need April showers to bring May flowers.
Yes.
So, and I guess that's a song even. And so I never forgot that. And so I'm being patient. And I mowed the lawn yesterday about 2 days past when I should have because it's been so rainy. Man, was it thick. But it mowed up really nice and things are growing. I'm getting excited about I've got some stuff planted, seeds and stuff. So hopefully won't be too long. Be putting stuff in the garden and we'll start having some vegetables and it's something I really look. It's one of those things. Everybody has their thing, they get kind of lost in. And I go out in the summertime and we have a little kneeler thing that I go down. It's got a sponge cushion on it so it doesn't kill my knees. And I'm down there pulling weeds and clipping suckers on the tomatoes. And, I get done. It's been 2 hours and it feels like it was 10 minutes.
I have a decent sized backyard. If you're bored, if you're done with yours.
Well, if the tomato plants come at all, I don't know what you're looking to have out there, but I can always bring a few tomato plants and hill them up for you. And that's always fun. I remember as a kid, and then we're watching grandkids and stuff. The teachers would send them home with a plant, a styrofoam coffee cup, and they'd watch a sunflower or a daffodil or something. It's always fun to watch things grow. It's amazing. I've always thought about getting a glass planter and put the seeds right up next to the glass so I could watch as they sprout. It's just amazing. If people take a moment to look back and see what's out there. That's why I think our trails are so wonderful along the river. I mean, you see everything, all kinds of birds. And I'm sure if you're there at the right time, you're going to see snakes and
Really? You got to go snakes on me there?
Little snakes. But you see muskrats still in the river. Once in a while, you might see a beaver down going towards Community Park.
Yeah.
We're really blessed here with what we have all around us, and I know people are concerned about things growing up and being built, and even so, they can't take the river away. It's still there. A couple misconceptions I was reading on Facebook today. Some people were talking about there's a planned industrial development going to be on the corner of Henkel Boulevard and 690, sort of kitty corner from Timber Tree. Well, is the village going to have enough water to supply them? And what's not going to be village water? And all that traffic will be going through the village. And I think the reason it's being built there is you can take Henkel over to the main road in Radisson and get over to 31, or you can go on 690 and go across the bridge and head to the city, or you can go north on 48. Very little of that traffic should come through Baldwinsville, which is good. And people are worried about, it's not really going to supply jobs. And that is a concern. I mean, that's what justifies it being built, as if a lot of people can work that maybe didn't have jobs. And it sounds like in the beginning, people who were at the United Auto area down on State Fair Boulevard will just move out here, but that the plan is as things grow because of the new facility, then they would have to add new bodies. Somebody said, it's only $19 an hour job. It's better than unemployment, I would think. And if there's any benefits attached, if you want to build up, so you roughly $20 an hour for a 40-hour week is $800. It's not a bad paycheck.
Yeah.
A lot of people would take it right now. I don't know what people are thinking when they think of jobs. I mean, are we going to only hire people at like $52 an hour or something? I mean, somebody there's got to be a lower level of workforce, and hopefully a lot of them will be working there. I know that there's concern. I grew up here, and when I grew up, where Tri-County Mall is, I think I've told you before, there were cows.
Yeah.
I mean, you went on down the street, and once you got past right around the area of Ford Street, there was a fence across the street, and there were cows standing at the fence. There was nothing but fields. There was the Johnson farm, and that was nice. But eventually we started losing the businesses in Baldwinsville to malls and things like that. And people said, isn't it a shame we don't have anything in Baldwinsville? So now when they're building things to bring jobs to Baldwin, people don't like it. They don't want jobs coming to Baldwinsville. Everybody wants it to stay countryside. Well, you can't have both. I mean, I prefer, at my age, I prefer green fields and woods and that kind of stuff. But I also know that there's an awful lot of young people, getting out of school and looking for work and don't want to have to move to do it. Wouldn't it be nice if 50 people from the graduating class who weren't going to college could get jobs at United Auto or at Amazon in Liverpool or whatever?
Yeah.
And I understand complaints too that all these big businesses come in and they get breaks, and that's, in order to get them to come, you have to give them a tax break, and then so that it's lost on the community they're in because they don't get the taxes that they should be getting. Not an argument we should start today, because that goes long.
Yes.
And I do agree with a lot of that. But ultimately, if people are working, you're younger, your child is 22 years old and out of college, and there's nothing to do. Even a $19 an hour job helps make a car payment if they're living at home or something, and they can get on their feet eventually. And it gives them a year of experience. So now when they go look for a job, they got a better chance to get a job because, hey, I've worked here for a year and I didn't miss a day. I'm a good employee. So that's enough of that. I did want to say, I talked to somebody from the county today. They're looking to spring a couple of pop-up vaccination sites. And I told them I thought Baldwinsville would be a good place for it, that there were probably still people here that needed to get vaccinated. And it would be really nice if we had a one-day thing here in the village that people wouldn't have to drive far away. And so they're going to let me know, but she sounded very positive that this sounded like a good site. We would likely use the Cantonwood Senior Center because it's set up very well for that kind of a operation. So people should be paying attention to Facebook, the village website. Keep an eye out for the messenger, even if you don't, not the printed messenger, but if you go online, you can get the messenger will write stories sometimes before they actually show up in print. And so keep an eye out if you haven't been vaccinated yet. And, we're just kind of waiting for things to get, making sure things were okay. This might be a great place for you to get it. I got my second one last Friday. Feel good about that. Didn't have any, knock on wood, any real reaction to it. A little bit tired, but not any more so than I am a lot of days when I don't get enough sleep the night before. So I feel pretty lucky that I didn't have a problem.
Okay.
Let's see, start looking at my list here. If I ad lib, I get in trouble. You might understand that. I don't know. I had a nice talk with Chuck McAuliffe. A lot of things going on. I wanted to see if I can show this thing. That's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. All right, I don't know if this will show.
It might go up towards your camera. Oh, it does.
Okay, yep. This is a new sign up at Mercer Park, and the same thing will be up at all the other parks. And one is saying that the restrooms get cleaned once daily, enter at your own risk, because we just can't clean them constantly.
Right.
The green sign in the middle is all dogs must be on leashes in parks, and the bottom one is be kind to young lungs, no smoking in village parks. So people will see those. Chuck says that he has been down to Community Park, and people think that is a dog park, the whole park. And they get down and they take let their dogs just run. And some people use the closed-in softball field as a dog park. Now they can let their dog run and they can't get away because there's a fence. Except people play softball there, and if they don't clean up after the dogs, that's not a very good health situation. So just remember, restrooms are cleaned daily. You don't know how long since it's been cleaned when you wander in there, so you may want to make sure to wash your hands real good when you get done, which is good advice anyways.
Right.
Dogs on a leash is very important. And I'll tell you what, there's people who have a fear of dogs, and you might have the nicest dog in the world, but people who are afraid of dogs don't know that dog comes running and wants to be petted, but you think that dog's going to take a chunk out of your leg. So what happens is people stop going to the park because they keep getting accosted by dogs. So for the other people's benefits too, keep your dog on a leash, and please no smoking. And that goes for both kinds of smoking, whether it's cigarettes or pot. The law in New York is you can't smoke pot where you can't smoke cigarettes.
Okay.
That should answer any questions about can you smoke pot in the park. Let's see. There's going to be a sign put up shortly on the entrance to Paper Mill Island that no one under 18 is allowed out on the island without a parent. Been a lot of vandalism, and it's not a great place for kids to be sometimes with the water right there and so on, and get younger kids. There's plenty of other places to be other than Paper Mill Island. So that sign will go up. We ask your indulgence in obeying that law. If you have a problem, you can always call me and ask me what we were thinking. For people who use Mercer Park, we redoing the area around the playground. We dug up all the chips and stuff that were put down a couple years ago. Our insurance agent came in and did a tour of the village, and one of the things they said was that needed to be replaced. It needs to be 9 inches thick with chips. And so it's been all dug out, new screen put underneath to keep weeds and stuff from growing up through. And they're getting chips, and they were hoping the weather would stay nice. And so maybe by the weekend, all the chips would be in place. There is a possibility if people are planning on going down there over the weekend that they might not be usable. Just to give people a heads up. Almost all done with all the side work on the sidewalks. And Chuck said some of his crew is going to help get the sites ready for the carp tournament, which is coming up in about 2 weeks. We're going to go along the riverbank and trim some of the bushes and hanging tree branches that would affect trying to cast and that type of stuff. I know that a couple years ago they were getting ready for the carp tournament, and Steve D'Arcangelo went down to check, and some fisherman had a chainsaw and was like holding on to a line and trying to reach up, and Steve said, whoa, let us take care of that. Guys who do that professionally, and so Chuck and a couple of his guys will be down there cleaning that out. That's a fun thing to watch. I mean, I'm assuming you can keep a safe distance and walk along the trail and just stand on the trail itself. And that is my wife. When you watch them haul in these carp, there's some of them are like 30 pounds. They're great. They're monster fishes, and then they have to weigh them, and it's kind of exciting because they're sitting around. And they've got 3 poles, and they've got these electronic tip things that when the pole gets tipped, this sounds a regular alarm, just like an alarm clock in the morning, and people start flying, grabbing that, and the other guy's grabbing the net, and it's really kind of fun because they're really into it. Yeah. I mean, these carp fishermen, I suppose it's just like, I know last weekend was a big weekend up for walleye. I think maybe the first Saturday. Somebody caught the biggest fish, and it also had a tag on it, so the guy ended up winning $25,000 for catching the biggest walleye. people who fish for trout on the open on April 1st. You know, it's just fun, and I hope the weather's nice so the carp fishermen enjoy their time in Baldwinsville. I talked with Greg in Codes. He said been a lot of school board election signs put up. He's moved some. He's removed some. They cannot be within 10 feet of the edge of the road. So the smarter place is behind a sidewalk, which means you're putting them probably in somebody's yard, which means you probably should check with the homeowner to make sure they don't care. But if you're within 10 feet, you're in the village right away, and our code says no signs in the village right away. So if you thought you put 2 signs up on a street and you go down and there's no signs, you might want to check in with our code office because Greg may have them in his office or in the trunk of the car.
Okay.
Also, remind people, no furniture put at the side of the road, particularly this time of year where it's raining every other day. You put out, there was one on like Virginia Street. There was like 6-7 pieces of furniture, couch, footstool, chair, all kinds of, and it had to get ruined. I mean, when it started raining a little while later. So, make a deal with whoever you buy your new furniture from. You might have to pay an extra $20, but have them take the furniture with them, or sell it ahead of time to a friend that needs furniture. So when your new one comes, that one just goes. But don't put it out in your yard.
Well, if you're throwing it away, don't you have to call the Dependable or somebody and set up a time for them to come pick it up?
Yeah, but if they're coming on Wednesday, don't put it out on Saturday, and so it sits out there for 5 days, and birds are building nests in it, and all kinds of fun stuff. So that's just a little request that we. It's not very nice to drive around the village and see furniture dotting the curbs. So, court's been regularly adding more and more people to the Wednesday docket, criminal and vehicle traffic type stuff. They've kind of letting somebody in like every 15 or 20 minutes. And your traffic ticket should have a date on it, and that's the time you should show up. If it's a criminal, our court people are trying to work that out with the attorneys on when they should come. So we don't have a log jam of people. They are screening everybody, taking temperature. You have to wear a mask. Don't be surprised. I watched Chief Leffencheck, his show with you the other day. Some interesting stuff. I was just really shocked to learn he was going for unemployment. I didn't even know
When he told me that, I said, I'm so saying that live. He goes, feel free, because anybody can be victimized.
Yeah.
Really, you can't.
I suppose it is comforting to think that the police chief, is just as vulnerable as anybody else is. But it just reminds people, sometimes people get sloppy and let their guard down. Don't give anybody your social security number on the phone. Don't send anybody a check. If somebody calls and says it's your mortgage lender, send some money here. Get off the phone and call the bank with the number you normally use and say, I just got a call. Is that one of your people? And they're going to probably say, no, don't send them any money. Double check on everything.
I actually just had an email this morning because, I work real estate. So a lot of times people will send us images of an earnest money. We have a secure email, and we know what something's coming, and we technically, we have another paper that we fill out instead. So we don't usually get the type of email that came. But what I did was I clicked on the return email address because it said a company name. And when I clicked on it, it ended with UK, meaning it was coming from the UK, not even. So I didn't have to take another step, because obviously I wish I worked with somebody in England right now, the one to come to Baldwinsville, but
your tentacles of real estate have not reached that far. Huh?
They have not. So sometimes, point being, is that the area code or the ending of the email address, there are some hints sometimes if you're questioning it before you make a phone call or call down to the police station or something and ask those questions. But literally, I mean, they're ruthless. They send, they call, they send, they call, they make you think that it's legit. I'm pretty sure I'm entitled to something from Chase Bank, but it's $60. And I don't know if that $60 is worth me clicking on that link because it could cost me hundreds, right?
Well, and it's particularly tough for older people who just either have a little more trouble hearing. Maybe their eyes aren't quite as good. They're reading something that says you must pay this within 15 days. And you think, well, I don't want to end up I don't have enough money to be paying it 2 or 3 times, so I better do it now.
Yeah.
Call the police department, call a bank, call the senior center and ask if you should believe what you got, and somebody will guide you and say, tear it up. And if they call you, hang up on them. Don't even engage them in a conversation, because there used to be a rumor that if you said the word yes anywhere in a conversation, they would record the yes, and then they would say, well, you said yes to our doing it. Because they would say, have you ever done something like this before? And you say yes. And they got your voice going, yes. And then they can play it back to you and say, you said yes. So be careful on the phone. If you don't know who it is, hang up. Any reputable bank, Social Security, all that kind of stuff doesn't do things by phone. And if you hang up on somebody from KeyBank or one of those banks, they probably will call you back and apologize and get it straightened out. And what I have always done in the past, the few times we'd get called, is ask for their number. I'll call you back. Right. I'm busy right now. If they don't want to give you a number to call back, that's a pretty good tip-off, because they're probably in, the Congo or Nigeria or Australia or someplace other than in Baldwinsville. So good lesson. I'm glad the chief shared that. It's happened to a few people involved with the village. We're not quite sure where it's coming from, but obviously with Mike, he said it was an address that he hadn't lived at it in 20 years. Yeah. So it might be some old information, which is better than current, but still keep your guard up. Saw Lauren the other day from the chamber, and she said that had already had several people sign up to volunteer at the visitor center, which is nice to hear. And was excited about the garage sale May 22nd. That's a village-wide garage sale. If you have any questions, call the chamber. Look on their Facebook site, any information. If you're in a position where you don't think you're going to would get exposure on your street, they're renting spaces at Village Square for $5 for the day. And then so she was asking me how do we know how far apart, and I said, check with Chuck McAuliffe, and, maybe I don't know how wide the parking spots are, but it might be as long as you got a vehicle like every other spot, or maybe keep 2 in between. I don't know how many she's going to have sign up. If it's 8 or 10, there's certainly not going to be an issue. But that would be kind of nice. It would give people an excuse. Maybe they buy something at a garage sale and then walk over and grab a sandwich at one of our restaurants. I would hope one of the restaurants, or 2 or 3 of them, would come up with a garage sale special.
Oh, yeah.
Burger and fries, and, for a little cheaper than normal or something, and attract some people to walk over to their businesses.
Or maybe like some type of a special theme sandwich or something. Angry Garlic's always doing theme sandwiches for something.
Yeah. I did forget, when I was mentioning police, I saw a conversation on Facebook where somebody was mentioning it. Wish they put speed bumps on Locke Street, because they drive down here like it's a racetrack. Well, then by the time the conversation got done, almost every street in the village had been mentioned as they do the same thing here. They do the same thing there. Then somebody said, well, they do it on our street, but the police have grabbed a couple of them, so that might slow it down. If you're having a problem, it really is a problem, because in some areas, because there's no sidewalks, and kids, not little tiny kids, but 10, 12 years old kids are out throwing a football back and forth, or they're hitting a hockey puck back and forth, and that type of thing. And somebody comes whipping down the street, it might be bad news. Call the police department. They do have that speed check thing they put out that tells you how fast you're going.
Yeah.
It's not the end all, but you're coming down a street that's 30 miles an hour and you look up and you're going 42, you kind of have a tendency to let off the gas a little bit.
Right.
and that might be enough to save somebody's life. And also, I saw a police car out the other day, hidden behind some bushes, doing a traffic control, radar. And if there's enough calls on a certain street, they'll put a note out, and officers will, if they've done their rounds, they might go over and set up for a half hour at a particular time of day that you might say is worse than others. And all you got to do is get 1 or 2 tickets in an area, and word gets around. Don't go on Curtis Ave because they're nailing people.
Or just slow down on Curtis Ave because they're getting people.
Curtis Ave has an unusual situation. They have a stop sign in the middle of the street, sort of. And it surprises people, and it sounds like people don't stop.
Okay.
So, if that was something that was going on regularly, the police would like to know about it, and then they can plop themselves, back off on the side street, and somebody goes through the stop sign. Usually the first time is a warning because of the way our community policing is, but the second time is a ticket, and maybe the first time, depending on how fast you were going when you went through that stop sign. So let the police know about it and give them a chance to react. I got a couple emails from boating people, not local boating people, but people with state interests, saying, reminding people that the Power Authority had talked about limiting the boating season as far as the locks from 6 months down to 3 months. And they stopped it, but nobody is real comfortable that this is a permanent stop. So I would say if you are a boater and that you enjoy the 6-month boating season, then it would be smart for you to get a hold of Magnarelli, Will Barkley, John Mannion, who's our state senator in this area. Let them know that if laws come up that maybe would limit the use of the canal, the locks at least, to down to 3 months, that you would be against it, and you ask them not to support any changes. Let them know, because that's the kind of thing where it's going to get brought up someday, and they're not going to hear from anybody.
Right. So
speak up. Let them know that you've heard of that, and you want to make sure it doesn't happen. And our business owners, I think it would be smart, maybe the chamber, to get the business owners to sign on to a letter and send it to the 2 assemblymen and the 1 state senator, and say, canal is huge for our businesses, and we would hate it for you to cut down, and we're asking you not to support a change. Be active ahead of time. Let them know that you're concerned. Senior Center still has people coming inside, but limited, although I'm looking at the list, and it's falls prevention class, Tai Chi, chair yoga, walking group, art group, book club, the yarn crew, and bingo. So that's a pretty substantial. But if you want to take part in any of those, you have to call ahead of time and reserve a spot, and you wear a mask, and you have to get checked at the door and that type of stuff. You have to make a reservation. So if you want to play bingo, they may only take 15 people spread out. So if you want to be one of those 15, you better sign up and get registered.
Do you think, Mayor, that reading what the guidelines were from the governor and things that are coming down the pipeline, do you think Cantonwoods would eventually say, if you have your vaccination card and you're vaccinated, that more people can join if they separate it out that way? I know some of the clubs and organizations in our area are starting to send out surveys of who's vaccinated and who's not vaccinated. Is that something Cantonwoods might be looking into, or not quite yet, or you guys haven't talked about it?
I think they would check. I think Ruth was a little reluctant to get into that in the beginning because people didn't know where that was going, how much control that would be. But I think I just saw where the Yankees have been told that if people are fully vaccinated, they can sit in an area that has 100%. If you're not vaccinated, they put you in an area where you have to social distance and wear your masks. So they're going to even separate the stadium into yes and no situation. So I got to think at some point The county office for aging is going to say if you want to have an area and only people can go in there that are vaccinated, and all you got to do is check once and have a list.
Right.
And they know everybody who comes in basically, and so they just check them off and you can go play cards. So that would probably open it up to playing cards and things like that.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought to mention that. So I'll double check with Ruth and see where that is. I'm sure she's checking. She see what the other senior centers are talking about. And they have a kind of a little group that not very many of them are open full time like ours is. A lot of them are open just part of a day, not even every day. And so some of that's a little different, but they're doing pretty good. They got a lot of stuff going on. The 11th is a upstate hospital mammography van. May 11th, appointments, call the senior center for information. I'm trying to see if I can get them in any kind of a order by date. Beginning the 7th, which would be Friday.
Yep.
They're going to have time to talk, which is 4 friends.
Oh, nice.
That
Good.
can get in together. And let me just see exactly what it says. Chance to socialize, chat, catch up. Group of 4 or less. You got to sign up for a time slot on starting Friday. So that's good news. And then there were guidelines in the newsletter. I'm sure it's, come in with a mask and so on. But, if you got some friends that you always used to hang out with and have a cup of coffee and the 3 or 4 of you would sit around and talk, another chance to do that again.
Good.
Let's see. Tuesday the 12th is a jigsaw puzzle and paperback book giveaway. 1 to 3 o'clock on Tuesday the 12th. No, the 12th would be a Wednesday. No.
I can tell you in a second.
Today's
always have my handy dandy calendar / my phone / my calculator / everything. The 16th, you said what day? The 12th?
12th.
It's a Wednesday.
Okay. 1 to 3, and you call up and reserve a time slot so you get your 10 minutes to come in and look through puzzles and take them and leave. George Leah concert, May 13th at 2 o'clock with a rain date the following Thursday, a week later. Bring a lawn chair and wear a mask, and hopefully it'll be 70 degrees and sunny. People can really get to enjoy it. Virtual elder law, the law fair, which is free, open to everybody, May 6th, which is tomorrow. Call the center for information. And the Office for Aging is sponsoring the Nutrition as You Age program, May 13th and 19th via Zoom. Call the center for more information. I think that's about all they got going, which is actually quite a bit.
Usually is. So just to clarify, because we had some comments that came in while we were talking, going back to the garage sale or the sidewalk sale that the chamber is doing. Cindy, your sister, who's pretty involved with the chamber through PAC B, and if Lauren's still watching, she could clarify. But she was thinking it was $10 for chamber members, $15 for non. So we'll want to get that clarification. But if you go to the chamber Facebook page or their website, probably that information will be there soon. And then Cindy also mentioned that the newsletter for Cantonwood, she was looking at it, and it does explain all the safety precautions for what they're doing. And of course, Lauren chimed in with her exclamation point to add some enthusiasm, because to the fact that the canal being open, the locks being open, it helps our business as people park their boat. They either listen to music if we have the concert series, get something to eat, stop in. So those were our little chime-ins for our show today.
And so people know that the visitor center will be open, but there'll be restrictions. People will not be able to go inside the building. We'll ask people who are stopping boaters to give respect to the volunteers, to not, get within their 6-foot safety zone and that type of stuff. But they'll have, hopefully, I know Lauren said she was going to try to get restaurants to give her menus, that type of thing, so that, you're looking for a steak dinner, or you're looking for an Italian dinner, or you're looking for pizza, or they might have a different menu depending on what you're after. I'm sure not too many boaters are seeing this right now.
No.
But I offer that for other people in the community who might be talking to some of the boaters.
Well, not only that, but I know some of the restaurants also have those URL, those codes. You take a picture of it and you scan it. It takes a picture and shows the menu. So even having something like that, the visitor center may be outside, because like I walk, or people walking around thinking, where do we want to go get something to eat? And you have some of the restaurants with those codes. That would be nice, because you could just pull up the menus instead of going to each location to find it. Just my 2 cents, Mayor. Every once in a while, I like to throw out there into what we're talking about. And Lauren said QR codes, because
if somebody knew Lauren, they could probably tell her that.
Lauren said QR code. She speaks my language, Mayor.
Yeah, she does. She's a character, and I think she's going to be great for the village.
She is,
and I hope she enjoys, what she's doing. She seems to, and I'm sure people will appreciate her energy. And I think that's all.
That's all you got?
We have a village board meeting tomorrow night. They'll be live on Facebook at 7:30. A lot of things happening in the village as far as, the board. So it should be an interesting meeting. Always is, I think. But I really appreciate our board. We have a hardworking board. And I have asked Mike Shepard to be the liaison with our island promoter, because I'm sensing, and based on an email that he sent out just the other day, he's sensing that things are going to open up, maybe so he can have concerts maybe by July.
Good.
Because if they could open them up tomorrow, but he can't get a band that fast. That's the hard part.
Well, I did talk to Jim Lynch over in Phoenix, and I know that they're doing, a couple things over. I talked to him about something real estate related, and then just threw in, what's Phoenix have going on, because they have concerts, they have different things. So I know that they're working on having, a much livelier summer this year than they did last year, just like we are. So it's nice to hear those things are happening. Yeah,
and I asked Mike to work with them, partly because I have so many things, little things going on, more so than normal because of the COVID and those steps we have to take to do everything. So I thought it would be nicer to have somebody who was focus would be on the island. And so that any questions Chuck has, he can go to Mike, hopefully get an answer or get a dialogue started. And quite honestly, Mike is much more likely to show up at it's quite a few of the concerts than I am. Not that I'm against music. It's just not my cup of tea most of the time.
Yes.
And if I'm I'll go down sometimes on River Street or by the park, and Linda and I might park down there and set up lawn chairs and music, for half hour, 45 minutes, and then go home. And, when I was younger, I probably would have been out at all the concerts. Shouldn't say that probably, because it makes me feel old when I say it. But, it's just standing around watching a concert is just not what it used to be for me. But I'm glad that we have it for all the people because I get stuff from people. One of our zoning board members sent me a message wanting to know if there's any update on what was going on. One of my wife's cousins who has moved into Baldwinsville, he's a big concert guy, wanted to know if we'd heard anything new. And it'd be nice to be able to say, Chuck is actively booking starting sometime in July. So
real quick, Mayor, because I know, we're already 40 minutes in, and as much as we love talking, people might get tired of listening to us talk. Cindy did ask about the Memorial Day Parade. And I know last week and the week before we kind of touched on it, that, that's really I think it's the police that, kind of put that together and work with the veterans. But have you heard anything as far as?
No. And I'm at this point, I would say because of the date that we're at now, the fact that they haven't booked anything would make it very difficult. Excuse me. Last year we had a memorial service, and I'm guessing we'll do that again.
Yes.
Chief Leffencheck thought that the two veterans organizations really thought that was pretty swell because maybe that took more of the front than the parade itself, the actual remembering our lost soldiers. So I'm sure we'll ask the veterans the VFW and the American Legion to coordinate something, and then Pac B will record it, and hopefully it'll be nice. It was very nice last year. The weather was beautiful, and it was a very nice bunch of ceremonies at 4 different places, and that might be the best we can do right now. And I'm hoping maybe that when we look at July, that maybe possibly the 4th of July would be available for Chuck to book something, and that maybe we'd be able to have fireworks. Maybe we'd be at that point. Things are starting to open up. I don't know. Again, the chief is, I err.
Right. It's up to chief.
Letting him tell me, because I know he's putting safety first, and he's talking to other people in safety, and getting very dry here. But that's all I have. And anytime anybody's got any questions, please feel free to call Village Hall at 635-3521. If I'm not there, they'll get a message to me. I have to apologize. There were 2 people over the last 2 weeks that I failed to call back right away, just because I lost track of the note that I wrote down. And then I have since talked to them, and hopefully, everything's okay with them and me. But I try to call back, and I know that all of our departments have been trying to be very responsive, and I'm getting a lot more messages now than I had before the COVID. So
yeah,
that's all I have to say, Shell.
Well, as always, lots of good information, and I enjoy our talk, and I appreciate Lauren and Cindy, and they're chiming in because they also know a lot of things that are happening in the village and the community. So I guess until next week, we will, maybe between now and then, we'll get some information on what can and can't be done. I know May 19th, which isn't, May 12th is next Wednesday. So maybe in 2 weeks, there's some more standards coming out of changes and things I read in the Syracuse.com website yesterday about what can and can't happen. So as May goes into June and June goes into July, I'm just going to keep being optimistic, Mayor.
Let's don't go too fast. Somebody said the other day, I can't wait for SU basketball season. We not push summer away too fast, please. And we are still looking for summer help. If you have a college-age person with a driver's license, 18 years old, who are looking for summer work, mostly mowing, but not entirely mowing. It doesn't have to be a student. Again, somebody who's out of work and thinks they might be out for the summer. Good place to work, steady work, 35 hours a week type thing, 40 hours a week. Let us know. Get a hold of Village Hall. They'll give you an application. If you're available to start tomorrow, we probably could put you to work.
Okay.
And then I still believe we're looking for somebody to take care of our flowers. So.
Yes, Cindy had asked about that too. So, okay, perfect. Well, hopefully between now and then, some of those positions get filled. My kids all have jobs, or I'd send them right over to you, Mayor.
There you go.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Take care, Shelley.